What's up, YouTube? This D does it, man. I thought I'd hop up on this channel real quick and put a video out for all the new guys out there that want to get into trucking, right? Yeah, so I'm just gonna explain my journey of getting into trucking. I've been out here for about a year and a half now, so I think I got a little tiny bit to say about the process of getting into trucking school and what it's like, once you get out of school and hit the road. So, here's my journey. About January of 2022, I said, you know what? I'm tired of all these little rinky dink jobs that I had. I had some decent jobs here and there along the way, a lot of manufacturing, warehouse type positions. So I was always dealing with truckers anyway, talking to truckers. Truckers always telling me, man, you need to go get your CDL. I was like, nah, I'm good, you know. Then they start telling me what the paychecks look like and what the lifestyle was like. So I decided to jump in. Like I said, about January 2022, I decided I'm going to be a truck driver, right? So the first thing I had to do was put the trees down. The boy was chief and heavy back then. You know what I mean? So I had to get that THC, that marijuana, out my system before you could be a trucker. So that's the first thing. If you smoke trees or you do any type of drugs, that shit gotta go. You know what I mean? You gotta put that to the side and get your body right, get yourself cleaned out so you can pass these urine tests or hair follicle tests, whatever this company may be. So once I decided I was gonna get in the truck, and like I said, I put the trees down. I stopped smoking for about 3 to 4 months before I actually got in contact with a trucking school. The trucking school I got in contact with was Pam. I didn't have the money at the time to come out of pocket, and just pay like 5,000 or whatever it is out of pocket and go to like a small trucking school or something like that, and then you're free after you pay your money to them. They train you, and then you're free to go wherever you want with your CDL. I decided to take a different route. I decided to go with Pam. So Pam provides the training for you to go to trucker school. There's only one thing about that. If Pam pays for your training, you're obligated to work for Pam after you get out of trucker school. So I said, cool, y'all gonna pay my tuition, then I'll work for you guys for a year or two or whatever it takes to pay back the tuition. And then I can, either stay with the company or move on. So I called Pam in about maybe March or April, right? So in about March or April, basically they told me, okay, you want to go to school, and they explained the terms to me and everything. They sent me out to uh, Fort Wayne, Indiana. No, 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 no. They sent me to South Carolina to school first. South Carolina, where I was going to do my 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks of training, right? So they sent me out there. It's like June, early June, right? So they pay for me to go down there and everything. I gets down there and I go to trucking school. You know what I mean? 4 weeks, nerve wracking, a lot of studying, not that much driving because these are big mega carrier type schools. So you ain't gonna get a lot of experience as far as driving and learning how to back and all that if you go to one of these paid for schools, these mega carriers. So, did that, passed my little 4 weeks, got my CDL, right? Now I'm in Pennsylvania at the time. That's where I live. So after I passed, they sent me back home, right? Basically to wait on a trainer. You know what I mean? So I'm in Pennsylvania waiting for a trainer. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm waiting for my trainer. I needed a non-smoking trainer. That's why it took me a while for them to find me a trainer. So I finished CDL school in August. You know what I mean? So I'm still dealing with Pam at the time. Finished in August. Man, it went August, September, and October. They couldn't find me a non-smoking trainer. So what they did was they sent me to Fort Wayne, Indiana, where they have a terminal out there in Fort Wayne, Indiana. You know, they couldn't find me a non-smoking trainer. So in Fort Wayne, Indiana, that's where Pam trains all their females. You know, because the females usually have a hard time finding trainers also. And out there at that terminal, they have a bunch of drivers out there that have basically local jobs. So the females get to stay in a hotel every day and don't really gotta go over the road for 30 days with a male trainer. So they send me out there. So I'm cool with it, you know, because I actually never been over the road. You know, usually you gotta hop in a truck and go over the road for 30 days with a trainer. But since I was at the female location where Pam usually trains their females, I got to stay in a hotel every night. And the trainer that they gave me had like basically, it's not local, but it's a dedicated route where he's coming home every night. So like I said, the training is in Fort Wayne, Indiana. The trainer they hooked me up with only rode from Fort Wayne, Indiana out to Detroit and back. So every day of my training, for 30 days, I was with this trainer, but I never had to actually sleep in the truck with him overnight. We'd take that run from Fort Wayne, Indiana, ride out to Detroit, the Ford Motor Company, you know, where they make the cars and everything. We'd do like 2.5 hours one way, 2.5, 3 hours one way, and then we'd head back to the terminal in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So it was cool, you know. So my experience just starting out was a little bit different, I would say, even a little bit easier than what most of you guys are gonna go through, because usually you're gonna go over the road, probably be out for a month straight, you know, with a trainer, sleeping in the bunk with him every night, riding around the country or whatever. But like I said, my situation was all I had to do was wake up at 5 a.m., hop in a truck with my trainer, drive from Fort Wayne, Indiana to Detroit, drop off our load, and head back, go to the hotel, sleep, get back up the next day, and do it again. So I did that for about 30 days, right? So I got all my hours in and everything and finished up. So now, after that, they send me back to Pennsylvania to get my truck. You know what I mean? Because I was going to start driving in Pennsylvania. But while I was there waiting on my truck, the truck they was going to give me was in the shop. So this truck was in the shop for about 2-3 weeks. While I'm waiting on it, I'm getting a lot of information from all the other people that I graduated with about how Pam is as a company. Everybody coming back like, man, don't drive for Pam. Pam trash. You know, they paying people like 38, 40 cents a mile. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, is that bad? They like, yeah, man, the dispatch ain't that great. The trucks are nice, but as far as the dispatch and the cents per mile, everybody was complaining, you know, because at that time, all the guys that I had trained with in South Carolina had already got trainers. I mean, had already got trucks, and they was out working for the company. So I said, man, Pam don't sound like that good of a company. So I started looking around while my truck was being fixed, and I found Werner, right? So Werner was telling me if I was to come over to their company that they would pay my tuition. I was like, oh yeah? Cool. Plus, I wanted to move to Atlanta at the time. I was in Pennsylvania, but I wanted to move to Atlanta because I got a 16-year-old son in Atlanta. So Werner's telling me, hey man, you come over to us, we'll pay your tuition and everything. You know what I mean? And we'll put you down on a Coca-Cola account, starting out at like $65,000 a year, based out of Atlanta. So I'm like, oh, that sounds good. And they was paying 60 cents per mile versus the 38 to 40 cents per mile that Penn was paying. So what did I do? I went with Werner, right? So I got down with Werner, got my truck. My first load that I ever had with Werner was leaving out of Pennsylvania and driving to Atlanta. Scariest thing I ever did. I was solo, you know what I mean? I had never really been out on the road without my trainer in the truck with me, but it was a good experience. I couldn't back up for nothing at this time. Because like I told you, in school, you're not going to get a lot of time to learn how to back. You know, while you're doing it in the yard at training, it's going to be a lot different when you get out on the road. So I got out on the road. I knew how to drive straight. You know, that's the easy part. But backing was incredibly hard. That's something you're going to learn over the road if you choose to go to one of these mega carrier companies. You understand what I'm saying? You ain't going to get a lot of time in the truck because it's like you and 20, 25 other students. So just know, once you finish training at one of these mega carrier companies that pay for you to go to school, you still ain't going to be that good at driving by the time you get on the road. So I got down with Werner, drove my truck from Pennsylvania to Atlanta, and started my career with Werner down in Atlanta. The first account I got on was a Southeast regional account. So I was going from like Atlanta to Florida, Atlanta to South Carolina, North Carolina, Mississippi, Tennessee. You know, I was hitting all of those different states. I was out for 2 weeks, and then being out for 2 weeks, you get 2 days off. 2 weeks on the road, 2 days off. So I'm doing that, cutting my teeth, learning how to drive. You know, it was going pretty good, man. Werner had like $1,000 guaranteed pay, so you couldn't make less than $1,000 in a week, no matter how many miles you get. And like I said, Werner was paying me 60 cents per mile to start off, and it was guaranteeing me anywhere from 1,800 to 2,000 miles a week. So the checks was pretty good, you know, clearing $1,000 usually every week. Not the first couple of weeks, I probably was clearing less, but like I said, they had that guaranteed pay that kick in. So I always made $1,000 for like the first 6 weeks with Werner. And I was getting to like it, man. I was getting to like it. I was like, okay, this is cool, man. You know, spend a lot of time by yourself and everything. Had my refrigerator, my microwave. I was out there doing my thing. And then maybe about 6 or 7 months into it, my transportation manager comes to me and is like, do you want to change accounts? I was like, change accounts? He was like, well, you're not actually going to change accounts. You're going to still be on a Coca-Cola account, but I'm going to give you a dedicated route. I was like, dedicated? Really? He was like, yeah, man, you can be home 2 to 3 times a week, and you'll probably be off on the weekends, you know? And the route was running from Atlanta to Florida and back. So all I was doing was picking up my load at Coca-Cola in Atlanta and dropping it off in Orlando, either Orlando or the surrounding area. So, you know, my trucking journey at this point, I could say, was pretty easy, different than what most people go through. Like, because like if you remember what I told you back in the, back earlier in this video, I never been over the road or even had to sleep in a truck with a trainer. He was on a dedicated route. I stayed in a hotel every night and just got up and drove with him in the morning and he went home. You know what I mean? So now, only 6 months into my career with Werner, I went from a Southeast regional account going out for 2 weeks and getting off 2 days to my transportation manager offering me the dedicated route from Atlanta to Florida. Only thing I had to do was change trucks in order to take this account. So I'm like, okay, usually your truck's got 2 bunks, you got cabinet space, you can fit a microwave or refrigerator in there. If you can see my truck, I only got one bed back there. You know what I'm saying? I only got one bed. Usually you got two. And I don't have no cabinet space or nothing like that in my truck. Because I'm basically back home 2 to 3 times a week in Atlanta. You know what I mean? So, back to the story. So since about 6 months into my career, I've been on this dedicated route with this mega carrier, Werner. And I feel like I got blessed, man, because I think a lot of truck drivers, at least starting out, would love to have like a dedicated route, especially if you got kids, like I do. I got one son back in Atlanta. So now I get to pick up my load in Atlanta, hit Florida, hit Orlando, hit Tampa, and then head right back to get the next load. Sometimes they have a load for me to pick up in Florida to bring back to Atlanta. But it don't always work like that, because for some reason Florida don't got a bunch of loads coming out. They got a lot of stuff going in, but not many loads coming out. So for the past year now, I've been on this account. You know what I mean? Is the money great in trucking? Not crazy good, but you can make a living. I just cleared $65,000 gross this year. So 65, they're gonna take taxes and stuff like that. So you're gonna end up making about 50 something thousand your first year, maybe 50, 51, 52, whatever the case may be. So yeah, you can make a living out here with $50,000, and you can't complain if this is your first year driving and you out here grossing $65,000 a year, bringing home 50 plus. So far, trucking has been good to me, man. You know what I mean? If you're like a loner, trucking is a great job to get into. You feel me? I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a loner, but you know what I mean? I like the idea of not having to be going to the same exact company every day, dealing with a whole bunch of people. Out here in this trucking game, you really don't talk to nobody. You know what I mean? Everything is done through the tablet. Feel me? Everything is done with this bad boy right here. This is how you communicate. If you want to talk to your transportation manager, you can call them, but there's really no reason to do it unless it's something wrong. You basically your own man out here once you get in this truck. They put your instructions in that tablet, you just do your job. As long as you're doing your job and you hitting your deliveries on time, they don't even call you, bro. They don't even bother me at all, unless I'm doing something I ain't supposed to be doing. And since I do my job the way I'm supposed to be, I don't really get too much communication with my transportation manager. Too tough. You know what I mean? So that's basically been my experience out here over the road. The hardest thing for me to do, I would say, was learn how to back and learn how to stay up, how to stay woke. Because from Atlanta to Florida is probably about 450 miles. And like I said, when I first started, I started out at Fort Wayne, Indiana, and we were just driving to Detroit, which is probably like a little over 200 miles. So I would drive 200 miles there, 200 miles back. And sometimes he would drive there and I drive back, or vice versa. So I really didn't have that long, that long over the road experience. So it took me some time to build up my driving stamina, if you will. You feel me? Learn how to stay up for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. You know what I mean? So now I can basically do it. It's not always gonna be easy. If you driving 400-500 miles a day, you gonna get tired. So you gotta get your sleep, man. That's the biggest thing about being out here with trucking. You can't be playing around. You gotta drive somewhere in the morning or at night or whatever your schedule is. The key is get you enough rest, whatever that is for you. For me, I need about at least 6 hours before I can feel like I'm refreshed and ready to go. You know what I mean? And sometimes you still get tired, even if you do get enough sleep. So, you gotta cut down on the partying, man. You can't be out here drinking and banging the chicks every night. You gotta tell them chicks, hey, I gotta put it away. I gotta get up in the morning and drive. You feel me? They'll understand. No, they won't. Anyway, you'll find out when you get out here on the road. So I know this video has been all over the place. You know what I mean? I'm just winging it, telling my story. But like I said, if you want to make about $50,000, $60,000 a year your first year on the job, trucking might be for you, man. Especially if you ain't got no family and you can go 48 states, you can probably make a whole lot more money. If you want to be an owner operator or a lease driver or something like that, you can probably make more money. I ain't ready for that yet. I'm gonna just do this company thing for a little while. Maybe when the economy get a little bit better, maybe I'll try to go into like lease purchase, before I even try to be a true owner operator. I'll probably go on a lease purchase first. You know what I'm saying? Because fuel prices are high right now. The truck prices are out of control. So I wouldn't recommend jumping into that kind of thing right now, at least not for me. If you could do it, more power to you, man. Do your thing. But yeah, man, for all you new truck drivers out here, man, go ahead, go to school. Hop out here, man. There's a lot of different routes you could take in trucking and make more money. You know what I mean? You ain't gotta stay at 50, 60K. I do drive-in, so I think drive-in pay like the least. If you want to make a little bit more, you can do refrigerated, reefer. You can do flatbed, you know what I'm saying? Or like I said, you can go over the road and do 48 states. If you ain't got no kids and no wife and you young, hop out there. Go see the country, man. Make that bread. You know what I'm saying? But for now, I'm cool with my little dedicated route from Georgia to Florida and back, being home 2-3 times a week. Like I said, I feel I'm blessed, because I'm just now getting in the trucking and I got a very consistent route where I only go to maybe 3 or 4 different companies in Florida. So I know the layout. I know how big the yards are. So I've mastered how to back my truck into these docks at the companies I go to. Now, when you go over the road, you're going to be hitting so many different spots. It's probably going to be hard for you to hone in on the size of the yards, the spaces, the docks, how everything's set up. So it's probably going to be a little bit harder for you. But like I said, the main 2 hardest things out here on the road is driving long distances and being able to stay awake and learning how to back up. Once you master those 2 things, everything else is just cake, basically, to me. That's the only thing that I ever had trouble with. Staying up, learning how to drive 400 or 500 miles in a day, and learning how to whip this big boy up into them docks. But one day is all gonna click as far as the backing. Like I said, you ain't gonna know too much when you first hit the road. You're gonna learn how to back on the road. And you're gonna be scared. And a lot of truck drivers gonna be looking at you. Some of them gonna be laughing at you when you pull up at these truck stops and you can't back But some of the good ones will hop out and help you. You know what I mean? There's always a truck driver out there that's willing to get out and help you get into a spot because they can see you struggling. We know a rookie when we see one. I'm still kind of a rookie, but I know how to back now. I ain't scared. I feel like I could back into any spot. You know what I mean? And it only took me probably about maybe 2 or 3 months on the road to be by myself before I felt like I had that backing down. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, that's my journey so far. So for all you new truck drivers, you want to hop in a truck, get you like 50, 60K your first year, get away from your town, get on the road, get you some chicks, you know what I mean? Do your thing. Get in the trucking, man. Get out here, get your money, support your family if you got one. I think it's a cool job. A lot of people don't respect it out here. You'll figure that out once you get out here on the road. They be playing with us out here on this road. They don't respect these big ass trucks. They don't. You understand what I'm saying? But, you know, you're a professional driver, so handle yourself accordingly. You know, get out here, stay clean shaven, stay, you know, you ain't gotta stay fresh, but stay clean, keep taking your showers, keep your hair cut. You know, look the part when you walking up into these shippers and receivers. Don't go in there looking all sloppy and crazy, because we got a lot of truckers out there doing a lot of that. You know what I mean? So far, man, that's my journey in trucking. I'm probably gonna make another video, probably a little bit more cohesive, but that's just my journey so far. I'm out here in Kissimmee, Florida right now. It's like 2:30 a.m. I ain't had nothing else to do while I'm waiting to get a dock. You know, I'm at this company called McLean. So if anybody out there ever heard of McLean, you know you about to sit for like 3-4 hours, possibly more, if you got to deliver at McLean. That's just been my experience with them. So other than that, man, that's my journey so far in trucking. I'll be here updating my journey as I go through this trucking life, trucking career, whatever you want to call it. You feel me? Glad y'all tuned into the video, man. Like, subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be dropping all kinds of different content over here. You know, mostly trucking, some life type stuff, you know, just everyday life. Not always going to be about trucking. You know what I mean? But it's from the perspective of a trucker. So if you're interested in this kind of content, man, like I said, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Tune in for my next video. Glad y'all stopped by, man. I'm about to hit this little bed right here and wait for these people to call me to hit this dock, unload my truck, bam, so I can head back to Atlanta, man. Peace. I'm out, man.